Indian issues out there, the Native American issues out there. Senator Inouye used to be the chairperson, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs. They actually have a committee there that specifically addresses Native American issues. And he said, I was there when he got his eagle feather, and he has all that, and then he continued on. And when I heard that, because I know the man, I told him, I was telling President Cleveland, I said, now this is where the guy's really pissing me off, because if he's talking about each and every one of those acts and laws, Senator Inouye is not a member of a Senate recognized tribe. So is there something within the laws that states that senators of the United States of America are allowed certain privileges or bending of rules for them? If they want to start somewhere, they should start in their own house before they start looking at us. Because if he understands that, he should know that as soon as you walk into Senator Inouye's office, on the right side, on his far wall, is that eagle feather that he presented that time. Because he talked about that way back in '91 when they had testimony in St. Paul, Minnesota, on some more of the Native American issues at that time. Because he was stating that. And so right away we got off on our own foot, of course. And all the things that at that time I had asked him why it was that they're all right with us taking one eagle, and yet if you have an eagle feather that doesn't have a permit, they consider it illegal. I don't know about you guys, but that looks like they're setting us up. Yeah, it's okay if you take one, but yeah, if we come to your house and look at your stuff, if we go to a powwow, if we go to any of your doings and that, and you have that feather, even if you say, well, they said it was all right for us to have one, you still don't have a permit. You still don't have a piece of paper that, by their law, by their interpretation of it, allows you to legally possess that eagle feather. So I had asked him about that, and there wasn't anything that the man could say. And since that time, we started right after that midwinter session in Washington, D.C., that was in February of last year. And then we started an eagle feather task force, a grouping of people that was specifically addressing the issue of use of eagle feathers by members of federally recognized tribes. We had, for the organizational structure, we used an Act of Congress of American Indians. Katie Jackman is her name. She's the one that does a lot of the informational stuff for us and getting out. She's basically our information hub there amongst the people that are involved. Now, understand that a lot of the people that are involved in this committee are legal counsels, lobbyists, and members of different American Indian rights organizations. Native American Rights Fund. What does AAIA stand for? Do you remember, Mike? AAIA.
Association on American Indian Affairs.
Association on American Indian Affairs. These are some of the organizations that we work with: SCAI, AAIA, Native American Rights Fund, and a few of the elected officials that have been involved up till now. Back in May 20th, I believe, and there is a sheet on there that's also out there that you can look at. Eagle Feather Working Group Update. And these are some of the individuals that showed up at that meeting there. And that was the first face-to-face meeting that we had with the federal government regarding this issue, this go-around.
Now, one of the things that you need to understand is that this has been a recurring issue for years, and years, and years, and years. It consistently happens out there that the use of eagle feathers in some way, shape, or form has always been a question for the federal government when used by members of federally recognized tribes. We can go back, and I know Brother Lance, he was there, when we got started in, I call it church politics. That's what I call it. When what they think impedes on our ways of belief. We got involved with that. And this eagle feather issue has always been out there. Just a little bit of history. Back in the 80s, I've seen paperwork from some of the church organizations going back as far as 67, I believe, when this issue was going on then. So it comes to fruition. It comes out. They have a concern over it, and then it disappears. And then it comes up again every few years, and it disappears. And then so this has been out there. At one time, this went along with what now is Public Law 103-344, the American Indian Religious Freedom Act amendments. That way back there in the beginning, the use of eagle feathers was also included in this law, along with the use of field, Native American prisoners' rights, sacred sites, and I think there was one more. Animal body parts. And because of the controversy back and forth over some issues, which ones were priority over what other ones, and these different issues and their groups that were working on them, on that bill, started breaking away here and there. And back then, when those amendments came about, the only one that was left on that bill was that peyote part of that. And the eagle feather and the animal body parts were included in that at one time. But they went on the side, and they decided to go forward with their own bills, and both of those bills fell on the side. They were not addressed, and so in the process, when for the time considerations, when you introduce bills, then because it wasn't addressed, it fell on the side, and it wasn't taken up again. And so here we are again with talking about the eagle feathers again. And because of this recurring issue, I've come to an understanding that we need to address this in such a way that we do come to understanding with the government. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to change existing law. The problem is right now the interpretation of existing law. When the broadness of the laws, acts, rules, regulations, and everything else that goes on, all the policies that address all this, if we took all that and put it together, we would be okay. In my opinion, we would be okay. However, because of the select picking and choosing within all this paperwork, and putting that together, and that's where the Fish and Wildlife Service authorizes themselves over us in what they do. Regardless of your ways of belief, regardless of your customs and traditions, they don't specifically target any one organization, any one tribe. Everyone is open to this. At that meeting, there was a time, and this was attended by John Holt and Dr. Cleveland and myself at that first meeting in May 20th in Washington, D.C. And we were three of the very few elected officials that were at that meeting. And
what was stated at that time was basically a really hard-nosed approach by the working group that we have towards what they were doing. And being the initial meeting and not really knowing who each and every one of these individuals were on that list there that provided for that May 20th meeting, we talked with them and attempted to get an understanding of the reasons why they interpreted the law the way that they did. And for me, the only thought that I had was, maybe it would be better for them easier for them to understand if the tables were turned on them. That was my thought.
How would they understand that? Nature-based religions is what it is. There isn't a comprehension of a nature-based way of belief for them. And one of the things that I stated to them at that time, and the attempt was to figure out how to help them to understand how it is that we feel when these things happen to us. And at that time, we had certain written incidences, and people have been calling and letting us know when these undercover operations, these stings were going on out there. They were by their interpretation of existing law was that they did not need a search warrant, and they did not need when these items were confiscated, if it was found that they were legal and you could have them, it was their understanding that they did not have to give them back to you if they so chose to do it like that. If they wanted to, they could, but they didn't have to. There wasn't anything within the laws that forced them to give them back to you. So some of those things that happened at that time, it was just to get a feel for how they were understanding their authority. And this is the way that they understood it. That they could go in to any place in the continental United States. They could go in without a search warrant. They could confiscate any types of feathers that you had. Because at that time, it wasn't just picking and choosing out of the feathers that were there, out of the eagle feathers that were there. All feathers were being taken. Boxes were being taken with tobacco or cedar, any other kind of things that any of these ways that are out there. They were confiscating those. They would take the feathers, and the rest of those things were thrown away. If they were found to be illegal, this is an interesting part of it. To be illegal, they could repossession of those items, those feathers, and whatever it was, however it was they were fixed, those would be stripped down, and those eagle feathers would be sent back to the repository for redistribution. So it doesn't necessarily mean when you get those feathers in a repository that they're new, or they were not used before. It's a possibility that they were, that they belong to someone else, that they were used in another way somewhere else. However, all these different tribes, 565 of them, whatever way that they use, the mannerisms and feelings and prayers and everything that they put into them, you could have gotten those feathers. So when we continue to speak with the government at that time, one of the things that I told them, and it was kind of a story, and it actually got the effect that I was looking for from them. And I said, the only way that I can help you understand, I said, if you walk out this door right here, that building that we're at, I said, walk down the road, I said, we have a really big building over there. I said, it's really pretty.